Okay, so this is the count of the Omer, Sfirata Omer. We're in the the week of Chesed, and today is the 5th day. So Hod Sheb Chesed, Hod of Chesed, and I want to point out. So if we take the two sides, Hod and Netzach, Netzach is related to Mikra, like the Tanakh, and Hod is related to the Mishnah. So study some Mishnah today. Anyway. Hod of Chesed can be characterized in two simple words, hakarat tov. So this phrase encapsulates the idea of showing recognition and appreciation to those who have helped us, a fundamental part of living a life with purpose. Being open and mindful of all the kindness around us makes one more kind ourselves, creating a respectful cycle of goodness that touches all aspects of our lives. Unfortunately, not everyone has the habit of giving thanks and showing appreciation for what others have done. Many people go around robotically saying thank you, but thank you is just a small gesture that doesn't truly capture hakarat tov. Unless you're a toddler, then it's like phenomenal. And there's some toddlers that are adults. An example of this is when a parent wants to teach their child gratitude. So when somebody gives the child a lollipop, the parent will tell the child, well, what do you say? Say thank you. So the child thoughtlessly says thank you, but doesn't understand what they're saying. That's why, obviously, if a toddler says it, unprompted, then that's great. So hakarat tov goes much deeper. It's a mindset, an attitude to recognize and deeply appreciate all that has been done for us. As such, expressing gratitude goes beyond a simple thank you. It requires thoughtfulness and sincerity. It is easy to take for granted the simple act of saying thank you. Hakarat tov, true gratitude, is far more meaningful. This midat hahod, the special quality of hod, is known as hoda'ah, the Hebrew word that means I thank. It is so much more than just moving your lips and speaking a few words. It requires real understanding, recognition, and appreciation. So a true appreciation of somebody doesn't come from a sense that you owe them thanks. It's an emotional response from deep within. So words alone cannot express the sheer joy and gratitude we experience in our hearts when somebody does something kind for us. In some cases, it doesn't come out naturally. We may feel these feelings of gratitude, but they will come out as a simple thank you. The other person then might think, thank you. That's all I get? Thank you? But the other thing is, if somebody's trying to do something nice for you, allow them to do it. Don't put that blockage. Don't put that wall up and be like, no, I don't need that, whenever it's like help or something like that. Give the person the opportunity to do the mitzvah. When you block that, you're preventing somebody from being able to do a mitzvah. So when somebody does something good for you, the natural response should be heartfelt gratitude. Unfortunately, there are times when we find ourselves unable to feel appreciation and instead think that we may deserve it. This kind of attitude can create a barrier between people and is ultimately damaging to relationships. Take a moment to reflect on the kindness you have been shown and summon up your deepest feelings of gratitude. Open your heart and show that person how much their gesture meant to you. Thanking someone is not simply saying the words, thank you. The true hakarat tov comes from a deep emotion in our hearts and expressing that outwardly. So showing thankfulness can be done through various gestures, such as a hug, a kind word, or an action. Something as easy as mentioning this person in your prayers and wishing them well. So taking time to feel and show appreciation is essential. This will help strengthen any relationship. This is the midah, the attribute, the measure of Hod Sheb Chesed, Hod of Chesed, loving kindness is Chesed. So feeling gratitude and thankfulness coming from a place of love. It is not because we feel obligated to show appreciation, but because we are overwhelmed with feeling of genuine gratitude. We begin our day by saying Modeh Ani, which is more than simply giving thanks. So Modeh Ani, like I'm grateful. Modeh Ani lefanecha melachai v'kayam shehechazarta bi nishmat b'chem la'rabba imunatecha. So I am grateful before you. When we wake up, we're thanking Hashem for our literally practicing the resurrection of the dead. When you wake up in the morning and you say Modeh Ani, you're literally practicing for the resurrection of the dead. Something the other religions, they say will happen, but they don't practice for it. So Modeh Ani, when we begin our day, which is more than simply giving thanks, it is an acknowledgement of the divine power and presence of our lives. Because when we sleep, it's like 1/60th of death. Okay, so we admit that God is the King, and we are His humble servants. This simple act helps us focus on what truly matters in our lives and sets a tone of gratitude and reverence for the rest of the day. So Modat Ani is an opportunity to cultivate gratitude even in the face of difficulty. So we thank God for creating us and giving us life anew each morning and for all that awaits us during the course of the day. So both good and bad. We can acknowledge our struggles and still express gratitude because we know they are for our highest good. So even when our world may seem overwhelming, Modat Ani reminds us to recognize what we have to be thankful for. This allows us to carry feelings of gratitude with us throughout the day, both towards God and others. So in turn, this helps us focus on the blessings in our lives and make decisions based on kindness and compassion. Just like we need to thank God for the good and the bad, we must be thankful to the people around us who do certain things we may not like. We still must be grateful for them because they are helping us grow. So expressing gratitude for experiences we don't necessarily like can be difficult. By offering thanks and appreciation to those who challenge us, we can better understand our successes and areas we need to improve. Acknowledging their role in our lives helps us recognize that any obstacles we encounter are part of a larger journey. If something happens in your life and someone puts you in a situation where it's like you trip up or you fall, don't be afraid to go back to that person and be like, that gave me an opportunity to like suppress my anger, to suppress my, crazy feelings. You don't have to tell them this. But just by expressing that gratitude for them, so that they know, not necessarily gratitude that they did something to you, maybe by accident or unknowingly, but you're at least showing them that that's a moment of forgiveness and that you have that ability to do that for them. And they might be really looking like I made a mistake. So they're very grateful that you would come back to them, right? So somebody might tell you something that upsets you. Your initial reaction might be to lash out. However, it is important to remember that people are often used as an alarm clock by God, providing us with a reminder to pay attention to something we may need to work on. Rather than responding with harsh words or insults, it's better to take some time to think and cool down before responding. This allows you the opportunity to consider how best you can use this situation for growth. And, we should look at everything like that, every situation that's maybe emotionally challenging to us. These are all, everything in life, but specifically those types of things are easy to look at as frame it in such a way as, what can I do to use this to grow? It's really hard sometimes to remember that in the moment, but, as you're starting to process these things, process something, something makes you angry and upset and you start to process, okay, wait a second, I got to slow down here. And then try to think about how am I going to use this situation to grow? So being grateful for the difficult messages and lessons that we receive from others is an important part of our lives and spiritual development. Just as we show appreciation to God for his guidance, we should thank those who act as an alarm clock in our lives, providing us with an opportunity to reflect and learn so we can reach our full potential. And it might be a little funny to call them and say, thank you so much for that nasty message yesterday. You reminded me of what I'm supposed to do. But that's at least what you need to feel in your heart. So showing appreciation for someone negative in your life is good. Accessing a deeper level of gratitude for someone negative in your life can be difficult, but is equally rewarding. According to Halacha, 4 types of people need to say the Birkat Hagomel, a blessing a chola, who was miraculously cured of illness, a chavush, who was released from jail or detention, or a Yordei Hayam, who crossed an ocean, or a Yored Bamidbar, someone who crossed a dangerous desert terrain. This week of Chesed serves as an important reminder to appreciate people in our lives and their roles. And we can learn from the 4 categories of people required to say Birkat Hagomel, Cholel, Chavush, Yordei Hayam, and Yored Bamidbar, that without our loved ones, we may experience similar challenging circumstances. By understanding this lesson, we can open our hearts to a deeper level of appreciation and gratitude towards those that are part of our journey. So practically speaking, we all have at least one person in our lives with whom we are stuck, be it a parent, sibling, child, or spouse. And you have to actually understand, if you have one of those people in your life, we're just talking about categories of people, spouse, child, sibling, parent, all those types of things. These are people that Hashem put in your life with solid connections for a reason. There's other people, acquaintances, people you work with, they're in your life for a couple years, they're gone, they move on to another job, move out of the neighborhood, stuff like that. You have those type of people. But Hashem specifically put people in your life, like the family relational things and stuff like that, for those specific purposes. So this week of Chesed can serve as an opportunity for us to look towards these relationships and strive to understand the importance of each individual in our lives. Sometimes in certain relationships, we feel frustrated and feel like screaming, cursing, yelling, fighting, or hanging up the phone. Stop for a second and say to yourself, but wait a minute, I'm stuck with this person for life, and that's actually great, because without this person, I'm in big trouble. Like one of the 4 people who need to say Birkat HaGomel. So we're so often quick to take relationships for granted, but taking a moment to recognize their importance is incredibly powerful. Without that special person, we would be metaphorically sick, imprisoned, detained, stuck in the middle of an ocean, or stranded in a desert. They provide us with support, love, and comfort, something we can't do without. We should remember to thank Hashem for these people who have become such an essential part of our lives. Without them, it would be much harder to make it through this world. Today, identify a person dear to you and try to imagine life without that person. It could be a spouse, parent, child, or friend. Now imagine if, God forbid, you lose this person right now. Close your eyes and imagine what your life would be like without that person. Can you feel the heaviness of the situation? You would feel sick, sad, and stranded without them. Let's deeply thank this special individual for being part of our life and express gratitude for all they do. And I want to turn the tables, too, on someone that might be abrasive to us. If that person was literally out of your life entirely. So there's situations where, like, someone might, let's say that they said something horrible and then passed away. They would have no way to go back to the people who they said that to and, like, correct it. You know what I mean? It's like the damage is permanently sealed. So even with those people in our life, we shouldn't be wishing that they disappear. So this is Hod of Chesed, to have this level of Hakarat HaTov for everyone in your life. If the person is good to you, there's no question that you will suffer without that person in your life. A hug, a kiss, or just a few words, handshake, fist pump. It's our way of showing love and appreciation for those near and dear to us. Let's not take these precious moments for granted, but show gratitude while we still can. Let's pick up the phone and express our love. Let's give our children an extra hug each day, say I love you with all our heart. And when we do this, we're living out God's directive in Hod of Chesed, to be thankful for everyone in our lives. Though we may not always have the easiest relationships, we can still be grateful for them. A person in our life is meant to help us develop and refine ourselves to become the best version of ourselves. By continually showing Hakarat HaTov and expressing gratitude each time someone does something kind for us, we are refining the Sephira of Hod of Chesed. Okay, and I want to point out, if you really want to start working on your character during Sefirat Omer, Tomer Devorah is a really, really, really good book. Tomer Devorah, written by the Ramak, it's not a difficult book. It's really short. You could literally go through it in a couple hours, maybe on a Shabbat afternoon or something like that. And it really deals with the hard stuff in life, like showing you that Hashem puts up with all these things, all these people, all these different things, and how we're supposed to emulate the actions of Hashem. By being created in the image of Hashem, we're supposed to emulate his actions as well. And it really refines the idea of what his actions are, and it categorizes them more or less in according to the Sephirot, the 10 Sephirot. So it is a Kabbalistic book, but you can get a lot out of just the first chapter of this book. And some people, they go through and they cycle through the first chapter of the book every 30 days. And it's definitely something you can finish in. Probably a couple times over during Sefirat Omer. If you just read like a page a day. So, yep, go ahead. Work on those relationships. Try to figure out how to improve yourself. This is the time where we're trying to elevate ourselves. We go from the day after Pesach, where the barley was brought as the offering. That's the animal level. And we go all the way these 50 days to when the wheat was brought as an offering, which is the highest level of the 5 grains.